Good morning, everyone. Welcome inside the Faith Loop. It is Tuesday, October 31st, the year of our Lord 2023. Day 2,111,471 of the crisis of identity. Continues to erode. Continues to erode and continues to erode. You know, our subject has been for the last little bit is Christianity failing and why. And the simple answer to that, but we're taking bits and pieces of things. The simple answer is Christianity was never the point. It is the, we're going to talk about this today. But I want to preface this a little bit by, what we're seeing in the world. This is why we are seeing what we're seeing in the world. We've talked about Revelation. Dad and I have discussed this at length. Most people read from chapter 5 to chapter, I think it's 22, maybe, in Revelation. We don't read the first 4, which brought all that on us. Because we wouldn't repent. That's what's troubling to me when I look at these things, is we sit around and go, how could God allow this to happen? He didn't. We did. We allowed it. Because we will not hold to the truth. We won't protect. We won't keep. We won't guard his precepts, his statutes, his commands.
Really? You mean we're guilty? How could that be? Man, ain't never nothing bad. You know that.
Oh, geez, Pop. It's
Look
true.
around the world right now. I mean, nothing going on, is there?
No. All peaches and cream.
Just lovely folks. Just getting along and shaking hands with one another, hugging necks.
There's a lot of love.
Got a lot of love
I
going
heard
on.
some kumbaya breaking out the other day.
Yeah.
They was flipping each other off, calling each other, casting aspersions on each other's mothers, just loving each other.
Just loving up one side and down the other. Man in all of his glory.
And, this subject we're talking about today, you might think, oh, come on, Brian, there's bigger things. No, this is exactly the problem. This is what the problem is. Syncretism. You may have never heard of that word. You may have. Celebrating holidays. This is a conversation as old as Western civilization, as Western Christian culture. And this is what was at stake in the first century when Jesus came to John and said, look, I want you to go to these 7 congregations in these 7 cities. And I know we say, go to the 7 churches. And automatically our brain thinks about some building somewhere. No, he said, I want you to go to the ecclesia, the called out. That's what the word means. Not a building. Go talk to these people, John. And this is what I want you to tell them. This is about people. Tired of building temples, man.
I guarantee you they had no buildings.
Probably not, Dad.
No, because they met in homes and wherever they could.
Wherever they could. It's about people. Still is to this day. Today, boy, here we go. Allowing for the syncretism of Christianity with cultural worship of peoples and tribes and other parts of the world is where we're at today. And I want you to know, did everybody know this? In the description below is a link to the blog. I have these references for you there. Go read them. I'm not telling you something that I'm not willing to say, here it is.
All right.
Go read it for yourself. Look up syncretism. Celebrate. We celebrate holidays. What is a celebration? Well, according to our English online etymology dictionary, it's from the mid-15th century, that's the 1400s, to perform publicly with appropriate rites, originally of the Mass. Much frequented, kept, solemn, famous. Celebrate, assembled to honor, to publish. Well, what are we assembling to honor?
Good question, huh?
So we say we're celebrating this holiday. We ought to be careful what we're celebrating, what we honor, what we give ourselves to. In our own definition, this is the Merriam-Webster dictionary, Dad. To perform publicly and with appropriate rites. Same thing. A priest celebrates Mass to honor an occasion such as a holiday. Well, let's look at the word holiday. Let's go to our online etymology dictionary from the 1500s, earlier holiday. From the 1200s, that's the 12th century. Excuse me. From Old English, holy day, consecrated day, Sabbath. From Halig, holy, see holy, which means to set apart. We set apart these days for a special purpose, meaning both religious festival and day of exemption from labor or recreation. So today, we all know this is Halloween, what we call Halloween. Is it a holy day? I'm just asking.
Oh, to some it probably is.
But across this nation, and it has been for the last week, we have people in our denominations and our Christian traditions trunk or treating, fall festivaling, and doing all that. Oh, fall festival, Brian, it's not Halloween. We're not doing that. Well, okay, let's take a look at this. Where'd this come from? Celtic origins, Samhain, or Samhain. This is what it is, Samhain. This is where this comes from. Ancient Celtics marked Samhain as the most significant of the 4 quarterly fire festivals, taking place at the midpoint between the fall equinox and the winter solstice. I think that's where we're at.
Yeah.
During this time of year, hearth fires in family homes were left to burn out while the harvest was gathered. After the harvest work was complete, celebrants joined the Druid priests to light a community fire using a wheel that would cause friction and spark flames. The wheel was considered a representation of the sun. Sun worship?
Sound like it to me.
And used along with prayers. Cattle were sacrificed and participants took a flame from the communal bonfire. Bonfires? Where did bonfires come from? Oh yeah, right there. Back to their home to relight the hearth. Early texts present Samhain as a mandatory celebration lasting 3 days and 3 nights where the community was required to show themselves to local kings or chieftains. Failure to participate was believed to result in punishment from the gods, usually illness or death.
Amazing, huh? Everybody thinks these holidays just popped up.
That link is in the blog. This is history.com.
Yeah. It's where it comes from.
I wonder anymore why we talk about Jesus, Dad.
You know, I was in a local store here the other day. It's one of those, it's Lowe's, it's Home Depot type stores and those kind, and I was getting something. And I look around and here's a lady standing there, and then I guess it was her husband. No way to know because he had on a Michael mask. Now, if you don't know what that is, it's out of the movie Halloween. And this person, if you dropped an atom bomb on him, you wouldn't kill him. I mean, they've cut his head off, burned him, threw him in a lake. They've done everything, and he keeps popping up. Here he comes back. He had this mask on with the hair and all on it, if you've ever seen it, hair and all. And I'm standing there looking at this person. What? I wanted to go up and say, boo! And see if he jumped. I don't know. It just, it's beyond me. It's just beyond me.
Is that what we're celebrating?
Yeah.
See?
Death.
Murder.
Just absolutely beyond the pale.
Listen to this. There was also a military aspect to Samhain in Ireland, with holiday thrones prepared for commanders of soldiers. Anyone who committed a crime or used their weapons during the celebration faced a death sentence. Some documents mention 6 days of drinking alcohol to excess, typically meat or beer, along with gluttonous feasts. Shocking development, that is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm shocked. You want to see my shocked face? See, and this is what syncretism is, and this is why we see what we see in the world today. We can't be left out. Heck no, that'd be too hard. What about my children? Can you buy some candy for your kids? Have you ever just thought about buying a gift for your child because you love them? Because they need something? Does it matter that it's a particular day? This is what Christmas, we got to wait for Christmas. Why? It's your child. Who cares? What are we doing? This is I just have come to this place where it's ridiculous. Well, they got to do Halloween to get candy. You can buy a bag of candy right now, anywhere, and take it home, and boom, there it is. If you want to give your kids candy. What are we doing? And syncretism is this practice that was taken upon by as early as what we read in Revelation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Listen, this was happening in Paul's day. It's why he said to the Corinthians, why does this one say I'm of Paul and this one Apollos and this one Cephas? What was the practice?
I know I've said this so many times through the years, and people say, oh, that's not, I haven't think. Well, it does. I don't care what anybody says.
Yes, it does.
In the Old Testament, what did Jehovah constantly reprove the Hebrew people for?
Yeah.
Idolatry.
Yep.
It was their main thing they did that was displeasing to the Lord. And I will guarantee you that they sat around in their homes and they joined together in crowds and they said the same thing we're saying today. Well, after all, I don't want to deprive my friend, and he may not be a Hebrew like me, but he's a good guy, and his idol, that's okay. And in fact, I might just go over and have dinner with him and sit around with his idol too, and then they started making idols. Solomon.
Yeah, why did he build the groves?
He built groves, and I'll guarantee you this was the reason. Because he had wives that he wasn't supposed to have, Egyptians and so forth. He wasn't supposed to marry out of his own kind. And I guarantee he sat around one day and said, after all, they're my wives, and I love them, and they're good folks, and, I'll go out and build them a grove so they can worship their own God.
And that's the thing. And think about this. The festivals of that time, they were holy days.
Yes, they were.
That's what it was. So we call it holiday. We go on holiday in Europe. That's what they say. You go on a holiday.
Right.
It's just a vacation for us. We're going on holiday. It's just a holiday. It's a holiday. It's a holiday. 4th of July is a holiday. So to what God are we worshiping on the 4th of July? Well, that hurts, doesn't it? That cuts right. Well, wait a minute. That's our independence. So we're celebrating revolution and rebellion, which is what got us in this mess in the first place. See, I'm not going to sugarcoat things anymore. I'm going to say things as they are. Transgression, the word transgression that we've translated from the biblical narrative in the Genesis narrative, the word means revolt. Adam was a revolutionary. So should I partake and take in kind that same mindset? No, Jesus was not a revolutionary. I'm tired of people putting it that the Jesus revolution. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Jesus came that we might have life, and he came to quell the revolution in man.
Yep. Well, a good example of that, son, we've talked about in the last few days. Here, the Jews hated paying taxes to Rome. Okay,
Yes.
Go read. You know, in the Bible, in history, anywhere you want to go read, you can find it. They didn't like it, so they come to Jesus, and they were trying to trick him.
Yeah.
And they said, "Is it right that we should pay taxes to Caesar?" He said, "Have you got a coin on you?" "Yeah, here's one." He said, "Whose picture's that?" "Caesar." "Well, then give it to him. Belongs to him. Give to Caesar what's Caesar's, and to God what's God's." And they got mad. They wanted to kill him because he wouldn't take their side and say, Jesus wasn't a revolutionary. He didn't come. He come to seek and to save that which was lost. He wasn't a seditionist.
And that's why Pilate said, I don't know what you people are talking about. I don't find him to be a seditionist.
No. I can't find any fault in this man. What you're saying he's running around saying he's a king and
Yes.
and he's against Caesar and he's trying to cause her. Now, of course, the guy they traded him for was Barabbas. He was a rebel.
He was a zealot.
That's why he was in jail.
That's correct. And I think that's so telling right there. Who did they want? They said, give us Barabbas, who was a seditionist, who was a revolutionary.
Yep. Jesus wasn't guilty of any of that. He come to preach the gospel, not the rise of a kingdom.
The good news. The kingdom is coming, he said.
Yep.
It's at hand. It's Jehovah's kingdom that we work to usurp, that the adversary set up his counsel in the midst of that to say, I'm going to take dominion here. And this is what we do when we syncretize ourselves to these things. Yep. These are sun worshipers. This is what we're doing. We all know Halloween is, who's going to dress up like a witch and a goblin and a vampire? Well, I don't do that. My kid's a superhero or he's, a cowboy or something. So what's the difference? What are we celebrating? And this has been this way since the formation of Christianity, starting with the Council of Nicaea.
Yep.
And we're allowing for cultures to meld what would be considered pagan practice with Christian practice of rites and festivals. And this is what's at stake, folks. You can, and I'll show you. This is in the same history, and this is true. This is history. Christian Samhain. As Christianity gained a foothold in pagan communities, church leaders attempted to reframe Samhain as a Christian celebration. The first attempt was by Pope Boniface in the 5th century. That's the 400s, folks. He moved... No, that would be the 600s. I always get that confused. It's less in the BCs and more in because the first century was 0 to 100 or 99 or 100. Yeah. So that's the 6th century. That's what I thought. Or the 600s. It was like 605 he did this. No, this is 5th century. No, that would be... Because the first century is 0, 100s is the second century, 200s is the third, 300s is the fourth, 400s is the fifth. So I was right. It was 400s, right? No?
So what century is it?
Fifth. It's 5th century.
Yes, the 400.
Yes,
Yeah,
I thought I was.
you're
I
ahead.
thought I was correct.
Yeah.
Shake that off.
I shake that off. Sorry, folks. I had to do a little math.
That's hard.
It's hard. I need more coffee. Oh, mercy. He moved the celebration to May 13th and specified it as a day celebrating saints and martyrs. The fire festivals of October and November, however, did not end with the decree. In the 9th century, Pope Gregory moved the celebration back to the time of the fire festivals, but declared it All Saints' Day, which is still in play today.
All Hallows Day.
It's November 1st. And All Souls Day would follow on November 2nd. So Halloween, it was All Hallows Eve. It was the eve prior to All Saints' Day. And this is where we have the syncretism of these things, and you have everything coming out with this. And then you have Halloween now, especially in our country. Neither new holiday did away with the pagan aspects of the celebration. October 31st became known as All Hallows Eve or Halloween, and contained much of the traditional pagan practices before being adopted in 19th century America through Irish immigrants bringing their traditions across the ocean. Trick-or-treating is said to have been derived from ancient Irish and Scottish practices in the nights leading up to Samhain. In Ireland, mumming, which means not talking, was the practice of putting on costumes, going door to door, and singing songs to the dead. Cakes were given as payment. Halloween pranks have also have a tradition in Samhain, though in the ancient celebration, tricks were typically blamed on fairies.
Yeah.
That's good.
The little people.
Then you have the Wicca in Samhain. A broad revival of Samhain resembling its traditional pagan form began in the 1980s with a growing popularity of Wicca, which we all know what that is. If you aren't familiar, it's there in the...
Witchcraft.
What are we going to do today? Are we going to set ourselves apart as a holy people? That's what this means. I'm going to set them apart as a whole. This is what this means. I'm going to make a holy people. People who are set apart from this world. Have we been called out of this world? Have we truly been called out? Not to practice those things that the Gentiles practice. And I use this term Gentile in the sense that I'm just going to put it this way. Are we not going to practice as the heathen do? As those who don't know Jehovah, who don't want to know Jehovah, who are bent on the knowledge of good and evil. Are we going to continue to do this?
You know, I've used this example many times, and it's still, I think, one of the best examples I've ever come across in my years. When Israel came out of Egypt, they'd been 450 years in slavery in the land of Egypt. The Lord brought them out. First thing he did is he led them by a pillar of fire at night and a cloud by day. Then they get to this sea called the Red Sea or Reed Sea or whatever you want to call it. And Moses stands there and he holds up his staff, and the Lord caused a strong wind to blow all night long and separated the sea at least 5 miles wide.
Yeah.
They walk through. They get out in the desert. They start complaining. The Lord feeds them, gives them water out of a rock, does all these things, and now they come to the mountain. And Moses goes up on the mountain, And because he didn't come back down, they said, well, Jehovah must have killed him, or he must have died or something. So they go to Aaron, and what's the first thing they do? They say, make us a calf of Egypt. You saw all this. When did your Egyptians and your Egyptian gods ever do anything near that? You see all of this, and you still can't believe nothing. And so Aaron, when he's caught by the Lord, he tells, well, they just brought me some gold. I threw it in the fire and it came out a calf. I don't know how that happened. Trying to excuse ourselves all the time. Yeah. It's like a child, you catch him in the act. Well, I don't know. I don't know how that happened, Dad. It just kind of happened. And so here, the first thing they did. I guess that sea separating wasn't a very big deal. After all, they just saw the sea separate, walked in on dry land through there, and that wasn't much, was it? It's one of them little trivial things that ever happens every day. Just every day happens. And here they're out here griping and complaining, moaning and groaning, and want to go back and build some false god that they can bow down and worship. That just amazes me.
Well, and I think when we talk about syncretism, okay, it's not something new. It's not a practice because why would the Israelites even consider saying, and you have to understand what these idols represented, what they represented. They represented mediation, okay? It was a representation of mediation. So they saw all this, but yet they told them to stop talking. Don't talk, or lest we die. We're guilty. Evidently they knew. It's the only conclusion I can come to. Don't tell Moses what we'll do. They were using Moses as the mediator.
Right.
So stop, we'll do it, just don't kill us. They used Moses to appease Jehovah. This is the mindset. How are we appeasing? This is the same thing with Samhain. What are we appeasing? We take these things lightly as, we're just dressing up and going and getting some candy from our friends.
Just fun.
And it's just fun. Well, they were just making cakes to the Queen of Heaven.
Yeah. Fun.
I mean,
having a big meal.
People, we've lessened everything, and we're watching people who are committed to what they believe wreaking havoc across the globe right now. Well, what do you mean wrecking? It's only Hamas. Have you watched? They closed streets, major highways in New York. They closed the bridge in New York. London, it was probably close to 10,000 people in the street.
One I heard on the radio coming this morning, there was a protest. They protested in front of a police station. Okay. Mm-hmm. And something that was interesting was they had an image of Joe Biden all bloodied.
My point to this...
You think they're our friends?
My point to this is they don't acquiesce.
No.
We always, syncretism and Christianity now used to, and there are two ways that we've spread the gospel since Nicaea. One is this, syncretism. Gone into cultures. We'll just do we see it in Mexico. We've seen it everywhere. You see it. You have the cultural context of the nation, and it's just what it is. You have you have all the Orthodox formats, and Catholicism just did, that's fine. We'll just Christianize. We'll throw some holy water on it, and we'll dance around the maypole just like you. But we'll do it unto God. If you still do it under a pagan god, he'll understand. We'll throw the holy water on it. It'll be fine. It's what we've done for centuries. Do you think Jehovah is going to excuse us? He already said you're without excuse, old man. And I wonder if he will excuse us for our cutesy stuff. And, after all, what are we teaching our children? What are we teaching our children? See, there's a basis in Scripture, Dad. Remember we were talking about this yesterday, where the Jehovah will visit the sins of the father to the third and fourth generation, and we're always talking about he's going to crush them. He'll just destroy them. No, that's not what it says. The word visiteth is an old English expression for somebody to watch over, to watch, keep a careful eye. That's what it means. So Jehovah would watch to the third and fourth generation how the fathers missed the mark, and if it would continue into the third and fourth generations. Right. And he would deal with it. And this is what the ladies in Jeremiah were dealing with. When we were making cakes to the Queen of Heaven, everything was fine.
Yeah.
Well, he wanted you to stop. You shouldn't have been doing it. When are we going to take and understand the truth and just say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to beg candy so some evil spirit doesn't get me. Well, we don't do it that way. Really? That was the practice, my friend. That's the practice. Why do we practice things that we know came from issues and problems that are man-made, that have nothing to do with Jehovah, yet we practice them and say it's okay? Why do we do this? When will we ever repent from being Adam?
And go look it up. Halloween is the most celebrated, largest holiday in the United States right now, except for maybe Christmas.
Yeah, I think you're right, Dad.
It is. That's what I've been told.
Yeah.
You go into shopping centers and so forth, and you will see stores.
Look that up, Lauren.
Called spirit stores.
Mm-hmm.
They're only there for 2 or 3 months, and then they're gone. What kind of money?
They're huge.
Oh yeah, what kind of money is being made in just that short time? I've gone into these home stores. You go in there. I saw one the other day, had a blow up balloon that you couldn't put almost in your yard, and it cost $249, and it was a ghost. And here you set that thing out in your yard and blow it up.
Yeah.
For what? For what? And yet we will spend a fortune on these things. And I mean, you drive by people with tombstones in their front yard, graves.
Yeah.
What do we worship? You worship the dead? You worship death. Is that what it's about?
That's what this holy day.
Yeah. Mexico, Pan de Muerte.
Mm-hmm.
The bread of the dead.
For
All Hallows Day.
and that's what All Saints Day. It was about the martyrs. It's what it says.
Right.
It was about the dead.
Yeah. That's what it's about.
I will do 2 things here.
Lauren's looking. What do you got?
Statistic. This is from Statista, so I'm
Yeah,
going
just give it.
It's on this list. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th in the list.
10th. Halloween is 10th on the list.
What's that from?
It's a Statista. It's the statistics reporting
When is, from what?
from 2023. Yes, it's the second quarter of 2023 poll.
Yeah.
I've seen this on actually the 2 most celebrated holidays, if you say in the U.S.,
Mm-hmm.
is Thanksgiving and Memorial Day.
Thanksgiving and Memorial. That sounds right, because those are very American holy days, because it celebrates our founding,
All right.
Thanksgiving, and then Memorial Day is about the wars and celebrating the men who fought in our wars.
Well, I heard that. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
they
I'm
were
just-
wrong.
Yeah.
But
Well, if you go by the world, yes, Christmas is number one. And
The entire world.
if you go by world,
Go by the world.
Halloween is ninth on the list.
In the world. In the world, but still, think about that.
maybe they were talking about the money spent. I don't
It
know.
might be money spent, but
That could be.
Yeah, might have been talking about the money spent.
Yeah. Well, because you're talking about so much, all the candy and the costumes.
Right.
Whereas Thanksgiving, yeah, you going grocery shopping.
Yeah, but you buy a turkey.
Right.
there's not but you look at decorations and things.
Decoration. Well, look, and that's the thing. You look at the decorations. You were saying that, Dad, and I do. I see skeletons and people decorate. It's almost like Christmas in the way people decorate their yards.
Versus Thanksgiving, they bought a pumpkin, stuck it on their front.
Yeah, you get a pumpkin in a haystack.
Yeah.
But
You,
to look at a worldly statistic, in the top 10 in the holidays in the world, and you're talking about other religions and all of their festivals and holidays.
yeah, you're talking about traditions. These are traditions. This is what these things are about. What are our traditions? And this is the thing that's problematic, isn't it? Because I want to go to this, Dad.
Go ahead.
Go ahead and grab that from what Jesus. I want to have Dad read this because this is everything in a nutshell. This is what Jesus said that day, one day to the Pharisees. It's on the second page.
This is in Matthew 15, at the first verse. Then Pharisees and scribes came to Jesus from Jerusalem and said, "Why do your disciples break the tradition of the elders? For they do not wash their hands when they eat." He answered them, "And why do you break the commandment of God for the sake of your tradition? For God commanded, 'Honor your father and your mother,' and whoever reviles father or mother must surely die. But you say, 'If anyone tells his father or his mother, what you would have gained from me is given to God,'" in the King James it'll say Corban. In other words, if you take an offering and give it to God, put it on the altar, he need not honor his father. So for the sake of your tradition, you have made void the word of God. You hypocrites, well did Isaiah prophesy of you when he said, 'This people honors me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. In vain do they worship me, teaching as doctrines the commandments of men.'"
We're doing the same things, folks.
What's different?
That's the same thing. I know. Oh, well, that's different. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Because Jesus was quoting Isaiah.
Isaiah 29:13. And the Lord said, this is Isaiah. "Because this people draw near with their mouth and honor me with their lips, while their hearts are far from me, and their fear of me is a commandment taught by men."
Oh. That to me is what's key to this. We have too many commandments taught by men. Our holy days, our festivals, our doctrines. Trunk or treat. Well, we're just doing a fall festival. We're going to preach the gospel. Do we need a fall festival to preach the gospel? Do we need a holy day to preach the gospel? Paul said, "I esteem them all as a day unto the Lord." If you want to celebrate one or if you want to honor one, do it. That's fine. He said, do that. But do it as a day unto the Lord, not as a day unto Sondheim or Samhain. What are we doing? What are we giving ourselves to? And I think that's important, Dad.
Well, it is. And here's the thing. Okay, trunk or treat. Trunk or treat.
You going to get a trunk if you don't get a treat?
Yeah, fall festival. Why? Well, here's the reason. Because we don't want our little kiddies left out.
That's right.
So we Christianize something, as they call it. They make it holy, just like the Pope did so many of the pagan rituals down through the years. How many saints do you pray to? Well, we don't pray to saints. Yes, you do. Yes, they do. Don't tell me they don't pray to saints.
All Saints Day?
Yeah, I've been in some of the largest cathedrals in the world. One in Mexico City has 5 altars in that cathedral. 5. One is a black Jesus.
That's where it's at.
And you go to him and pray for certain things.
Yeah.
But then they've got all these other saints and things that you go to. Why do you wear St. Christopher around your neck? Well, he's the saint of protection. Well, wait a minute. Isn't that kind of a prayer? You're praying to him for protection? Oh, he's dead.
Yeah.
He's dead. The prophet said the Lord said you pray to a rock that can't move, can't talk, can't speak. You pray to a tree, you go to the forest, you cut out a tree, you fasten it to where it don't move, you deck it with gold and silver and different, and here it doesn't mean. It amazes me, absolutely amazes me. You can talk to people about this, stand there and there it is. And yet, no. And we just want to be left out. It's like Easter. I'm still trying to find that rabbit that lays eggs. Disney would pay me $100 million for a rabbit that lays eggs. I'd be the richest man in the world. What do you mean a rabbit? Bunny? What's that have to do with Jesus? Easter egg hunts. What's that have to do with you? Well, but our little kitties have so much fun. Yeah, you can justify it any way you want to justify it. Any way you want. I can justify a lot of things. But it doesn't make it right. Doesn't make it right. But we don't want to be left out.
And I want to finish with this because it's one last thought here, Dad, with what you said there. And this came to my mind because this is something I read. And they go to Paul, Dad. And they say, Paul, I become all things to all men. Well, see, there it is. We can, this is why we do this. Because Paul said is that what Paul meant? Is it?
No, I don't think so.
I don't either. No. What did he mean, I become all things? Because Paul's one of the first people. He said to the congregation, this guy, you need to throw him out of the congregation. He doesn't need to be part of the fellowship of the saints. He's not acting appropriately, and you need to put him out.
He won't repent.
And if maybe in putting him out, he will realize the destruction of his soul and come back to the truth. That seems pretty, but no, that's not what Paul meant. Yeah, it was. See, these are things that I think are very important for us to understand. Paul said, I've become all things to all men. Well, what does that mean? It means whatever situation I'm put in, I will preach the gospel. I will become what I need to be to make sure that I can preach the gospel. Whether I'm in prison, whether I'm not becoming a pagan so I can reach the pagan.
No. Exactly.
I just don't understand that. And so I want people to understand that's not what Paul meant. Not at all.
My wife put here, Halloween brings in billions of dollars. It beats out any other holiday.
It's the spending. I think it's the spending. Yeah.
And I think she looked it up.
That's not correct. I looked it up to see if she was right. And Halloween doesn't even come near Christmas. I mean, they spend $630.7 billion.
Okay.
Well, what's Halloween?
7 to 8 billion.
7, 8 billion.
I mean, that's
that's still, it's billions of dollars.
But it doesn't beat out the other holidays.
How much for Christmas?
$630.7 billion.
600. And we wonder why there's commercials.
Anita put in here, there's 1,500 spirit stores across the USA every year.
1,500 spirit stores?
1,500.
It is the #1 non-gambling most expensive.
The
Okay.
number one non-gift giving holiday.
Because
There
it's
you go.
not considered like one of the.
Yeah. Well, they give the candies. It's a treat if you're not going to trick someone. I don't know. It's nonsense. I know we're getting off into some stuff that way. Don't. It's syncretism. Stop.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I've become what I need to become. I've become a follower of Jesus so that I can reach people for the good news. I've become all things to all men. I've become what Jehovah has created me to be, which is all things, which is what is necessary for truth. This is what Jesus came to bring. Let's preach the good news of Jesus Christ, not through some form of paganism.
Would that have something to do with being whole or complete?
I think so, Dad.
I think so, yeah.
You're absolutely correct. Tomorrow we're going to continue this conversation. We're going to bring it into what we're seeing in the world, because the other part of this equation is the syncretism, because they used to, what they did, they did it for a long time. And it was a mixed bag of these things, because the other was, the gospel spread at the pointy end of a sword or a spear, and convert or die. We've we haven't done so much of that recently, but
When you was talking earlier about the martyrs, the All Saints Day and stuff. I wonder if they included some of the Protestants in there that they killed,
I don't know.
that we call martyrs.
That the Protestants call martyrs too. Yeah, see, the Protestants have their martyrs. The Catholics have their martyrs. I'm sure the Orthodox have their martyrs. But martyr just means witness.
Yep.
Doesn't mean, we've changed the language again, and martyr means somebody who died for the gospel. No, a witness is somebody who's alive and well and speaking the truth. It just means witness. There's no word for death in there. We created that. I'd rather have a live witness. This is why it's important. This is why it's important that Paul said this. If Jesus not be risen from the dead, then eat, drink, and be merry, because tomorrow we die. Because the witness is not true.
Right.
Because a live witness sitting at the right hand of the Father, a witness to the truth, a witness to the Father, can express to us the truth. This is what we need to focus on instead of this nonsense.
They don't swear on too many people in the courtroom, dead people. Say, put that dead guy on the stand, we'll swear him in.
I mean, that's why the mob folks, man, they're saying, I got 5 dead witnesses.
Right.
I guess you're free to go. I don't know, man.
You have to laugh sometimes, don't
dear
you?
Jesus. I hope that was interesting to you. Please go read, go click on go read some stuff. I hope you do. I know I talk big and because it's just like, when are we going to let go of these things and just come to the truth? These are the things that have brought us to the place where we're at, and we'll talk a little bit more about this tomorrow. So celebrate Jesus, right? Give honor to whom honor is due.
Yeah.
Don't do as they did and what was said through Isaiah. Honor him with your lips, but your mind is
You don't believe it.
far from me. And what does it say at the end of that, Dad? The fear, reverence, awe. The awe. We've given our awe to the men standing in the pulpit and the commandments of men. We're listening to that rather than the commandments of Jehovah. We need to be careful. We love you. We care about you. I hope you have a great day in the Lord. Always remember to give love
And give life.
and give Jesus.